Hello, FPL managers. Welcome back to the FPL Optimized podcast. This is episode number 117, and I am Bas, the casual manager, and my co host is Sertalp, the data scientist. This is the podcast in which we combine analytics with the good old eye test. Data or grass, or data and grass? That's the question. Sertalp, how are you doing today? And hopefully, you're not sick again. How are you?
No, I'm doing well. Thank you for asking. I hope you're doing well too. I'm not sick. I still have some congestion from my previous sickness, but I'm doing
Okay.
fine in general. Thank you.
All right. Good to hear. I think some people were worried about you after the last podcast. I think someone called you the sickest person on earth or something like that. But
Yeah, I saw the command. I was a little bit upset,
yeah,
but yeah, I'm okay
yeah.
now.
That's what it is. At least nobody made jokes about my holidays this time. So yeah. All right. Well, there is a double game week coming up, so I can feel a lot of excitement in the FPL community. Many managers are likely to use one of their chips, so chip strategy is definitely something we need to discuss today. But before that, and as usual, let's review how our teams performed in the previous game week.
My team finished with 66 points, which is funny because my projected points before I checked, before the game week was 66.66. So I was
Oh,
like,
okay.
wow, what a coincidence. And then I got
Yeah.
66 points too. So
Mhm.
definitely something weird going on with my team. But at least it was a
Yeah.
green arrow. Like it was a very small green arrow, but I was 3 points over my safety score. So I won't complain much. Um, yeah, I mean, not much to talk about actually about my team, but you had a really good week. Do you want to talk about it?
Yeah, it was all right. Can always be better, but I can't complain. 74 points, and I was especially happy that I bounced back after the bad score the week before. But as I said last week, I was quite happy still with the team, and I'm glad that the players rewarded my confidence in them. The star of the team definitely was my fellow Dutchman Cody Gagbo with 16 points. That was really nice. Also quite funny in a way that I think a lot of people were saying that he doesn't have a really high upside or a high ceiling. And then, yeah, he basically proved everyone wrong. So that was nice. But on the flip side, I think almost everyone is bringing him in now for the double game week. So, yeah, I'm losing a little bit of the benefit there. But for the rest, of
Maybe
course,
you should sell him then.
yeah, why not? Yeah, or maybe I triple captain him. That could be still a differential.
Oh, yeah, why not?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, but for the rest, yeah, 13 points of Isaac. But I think, yeah, with his high ownership, it doesn't matter too much. But I also had 7 points from Gabriel, and then 3 times 5 points from Watkins, Gordon, Pickford. So that was quite good. Yeah, and of course Salah as captain delivering 16 points. So overall 74 and a nice green arrow, and also beating you this week. So overall quite good. Haha.
Congratulations.
And I'm laughing. And you're not. Okay. All right, cool. Well, let's move ahead. I think I had my fun. That's behind us. Let's focus now on what's ahead of us. And as always, let's look at our fixture ticker.
Sure. Liverpool is the first team in the fixture ticker because obviously they have a double this game week.
Yes.
It's very exciting that we have a double.
Yeah.
So both away games, but
Yeah.
good fixtures in general. Bournemouth and Everton. Um, well, it could have been better, but I'm fine with this as is. In game week 25, they play against Wolves at home. That's a pretty good fixture.
Yeah.
Then they have a City game in between, but after that they have Newcastle and Southampton games, both at home.
Yeah.
They are marked like favorable in the fixture ticker, so yeah, they have like 4 good fixtures out of 6, like
Yeah.
in terms of game weeks. And then they play against Aston Villa at the end of the horizon. The
Yeah.
second team is Arsenal. Well, they have a really tough fixture this week, playing against City, but at least it's at home. But right after, they have 3 good fixtures. They play against Leicester, then West Ham, then Nottingham Forest.
Mhm.
Well, their defensively, all three are favorable. In terms of offense, only Leicester and West Ham are marked as favorable fixtures. But yeah, still in terms of the average points, um, it looks pretty decent. In the third place, we have Chelsea. They're playing against West Ham this week, and offensively, it is marked as a good fixture. And down the line, in game week 27, they have a Southampton game, and then in game week 28, they play against Leicester. So those fixtures
Yeah.
are also favorable, both
Yeah.
defensively and offensively.
Hmm.
And then we have Manchester United in the fourth place. So the only favorable fixture is against Ipswich in game week 27. Well, since their average is high enough to be fourth, so obviously other fixtures are not that bad. But they don't have any unfavorable fixtures, so like they are like as assets. I think they are fine to keep at least until game week 27. And then we have City in the fifth place. So their projected points are quite low in general. They play against
Hmm.
Arsenal this week, and then in game
Yeah.
week 26 they have a Liverpool game and then a Tottenham game. Even the Nottingham Forest game, even though it's higher than most of their other fixtures, it is still not a favorable fixture in the sense that you will get lots of
No.
points.
No.
In game week 29, though, they play against Brighton, and their that fixture is marked good offensively. Then we have Aston Villa in the sixth place. Their good fixture is against Ipswich in game week 25. And
Hmm.
then we have Everton. So Everton is here because of their double. So they
Yeah.
play against Leicester and Liverpool, both at home.
Yeah.
So that's decent.
Yeah.
But then rest of the horizon is okay-ish. So that if you want to bring Everton players, obviously you are just bringing it for the double. So there are
Yeah.
the remaining fixtures are not terrible, but they are also not that promising. I mean, they have a Manchester
Yeah.
United game and then Brentford, Wolves, West Ham towards the end of the horizon. They're
Yeah.
okay, not that uh, that particularly good.
Yeah.
And then we have Bournemouth comes after, and then we have Tottenham, and finally Newcastle at the end of this list. So anything you
Mm.
wanna cover?
Maybe just a few things. So I think, yeah, Liverpool, as you mentioned, the double game week, everyone is loading up three Liverpool players, and I think what makes it interesting, we also mentioned it last week, that basically you can keep those three Liverpool until game week 28 because they will also have, well, first they will have Wolves at home in game week 25, which
Mm-hmm.
is a good game, and then also Southampton at home in game week 28. So pretty good to have still three players for that. Number two, Arsenal. So there was a really interesting transfer rumor today, right? Arsenal
Yeah.
apparently want to buy Ollie Watkins,
Mm-hmm.
which is interesting for me because I own Watkins. So I think if he moves to Arsenal, that of course will be really yeah, good. uh, good striker at Arsenal. So I definitely will keep him. So let's see how that will develop. I was reading that Villa want to have João Felix from Brighton, so that could also be an interesting transfer. So yeah, a few days left in the transfer window, and potentially still a few things will happen. So that will definitely be interesting. Let's keep an eye on that. Then Chelsea, as you said, well, I think you cannot get better home fixtures than this, right?
Mm-hmm.
Southampton, and Leicester in game week 27 and game week 28. So that's a good one to look at. Nico Jackson, I think people who own him probably lost a bit of patience, but for these kind of games, you might want to
Mm-hmm.
keep him, or you might even want to bring him in. I was looking at it, owning Watkins, or thinking, I want to keep him for the next two games, Wolves away and Ipswich at home. But after that, I could potentially sell him for Nico Jackson,
Yeah.
which could be a little bit of a differential because I think a lot of people are selling Nico Jackson. But again, let's see what happens with those transfer rumors. And for the rest, yeah, Everton double game week. Again, we talked about it last week. Is it worth to buy players just for the double? I would say, don't get too excited about the double, but they did win last week away to Brighton, so you could maybe say with the new manager that they started to perform a bit better. So if you believe in that, then of course it makes sense, because especially, I mean, it makes sense to get an extra player, especially for their first game in the double, right? Leicester at home, that should be a good fixture. I have Pickford. I probably will leave it at that, but there is still an option that I might go for Mikolenko.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, Not too exciting, but I think I can switch my entry, or let's say my budget defender. Currently, I have Konza and Colwill. They're not doing too much, so I wouldn't mind maybe a move to Mikolenko, just have him for the double. And then whenever needed, I could still play him, let's say, Wolves away or West Ham at home a bit later on. Not too
Mm-hmm.
bad fixtures. And the last thing to mention is Bournemouth, right? Really impressive performance against Nottingham, 5-0 win. I think everyone is looking at Bournemouth now. Tough fixture coming up against Liverpool. But then, yeah, you can see it. Southampton away, Wolves at home, even Brighton away. Not too bad for such an attacking team. The difficult decision is here is, who do you want to get? It's Kluivert is of course the big man in form. He's also on penalties. There is Semenyo, who we all know, and there is now also Dango, who's playing out of position number 9 and really doing well. So some nice options and also some really cheap options. So I will probably go for a Bournemouth player. I can already reveal, because I need to free up some budget to get my third Liverpool player.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Mm-hmm.
and with those fixtures, it's really yeah, it's quite easy decision, I would say, to go for a Bournemouth player in the midfield.
Yeah, I think there are also Bournemouth players in the optimal teams that we will talk about it.
Ah, let's take a look at that later.
Mm-hmm.
But first, the $1 million question. So, with all the fixtures in mind, especially of course for the double game week, what's your plan, Sertalp, in terms of chips usage? First for double game week 24, and then also for the rest of the season.
So my plans are not that fixed. First of all, I should mention this. Like even if you are watching on YouTube and if you see my chip plan on the screen, like don't freak out that I have decided. I'm not 100% decided on this, but I think I will do something similar to this plan. So first of all, with Gaming 24, not exciting from a chip perspective, but I'm going to use my triple captain on Salah this week, unless we hear something and or like we get an update or anything, because like I think there won't be a better chance to use triple captain than this week. So it's just
Yeah,
like a no-brainer to use triple captain. I mean, you can also go with assistant manager chip. I will also show that solve in a few
yeah,
minutes, which gives better projected points actually. But the thing is, we will probably get better opportunities to use assistant manager chip, especially towards the end of the season. So even though like assistant manager chip is giving more projected points, it's also more valuable. So it is easy to use triple captain now and then get it out of the way.
yeah.
Then rest of the plan is roughly with like I'm thinking of using free hit in game week 29. An alternative could be game week 34, but I think I'm closer to 29. I don't really mind using free hit and blanks. Sometimes people just freak out about this, but yeah, I feel like it might increase my projected points a bit. Um, then in game week 31, I will either use my assistant manager starting in 31 so that 33 will be inside the horizon, assistant manager chip horizon, or I
Yeah.
can also use my wildcard in there. So I will just decide which order I want to use it. But if I use my assistant manager in 31, I'm thinking of using my wildcard in 35 and then bench boosting in 36 and finish the season that way. Or
Hmm.
I can do the other way around. I can wildcard in 31. If I do it, it's better to bench boost in 33, I think. And
Hmm.
then I can use my assistant manager chip in 36. So I think one of these two chip strategies I will follow, I think. So the only
Yeah.
differences is maybe I will use my free hit in 34 instead of 29. Obviously I can um I need to find a way to actually optimize the the order. But
Yeah.
for wildcards, 31, it could be also 30, depending on how good or bad my team is. Obviously, like reheating and using wildcard right after doesn't sound like that much of a good idea. But because like I can always like dead end
Mm.
towards game week 30, right?
Right. That's
But I
awesome.
think
Yeah.
yes. So one of these will be my strategy. But yeah, for at least for
Yeah.
this week, I'm thinking of using my triple captain.
Yeah.
But how about you, Bus? I think you have something similar.
Yeah, something similar. And maybe first, I think we also have the information from Ben Crallen. I think you have
Mm-hmm.
it on the next
Sure.
picture, just maybe to show as a reminder for everyone, like why are we looking at these game weeks to use our chips? And that's just because these are the projected double game weeks. And as we all know, Ben Crallen is the guy to follow for this kind of information. There are other experts, but I think in general, everyone knows Ben and looking at his information. So double game weeks will be 24. That's of course confirmed with the Liverpool and Everton game. But then we'll also have 33 and 36. So that those are the game weeks in which we want to use our chips. And there is still a slim chance of having a double game week in 25 for Tottenham and Fulham. But as you can see from the percentages, it is quite low. But yeah, still maybe something to keep in mind. There was someone asking about this, and I think especially if this would be confirmed, then of course it could be interesting for your assistant manager chip, because then you can have double game week 24 and double game week 25 in your 3 weeks window. So that's maybe something to consider if anyone wants to bet on that. But if,
Mm-hmm.
as you can see here from the percentages, it's not so likely. Yeah, if we then go back to my current plan, so indeed triple captain 24. Um, Not the most excited about it because it's I think tough games, especially the Bournemouth away game. But then again, with this Liverpool, with this Salah, so consistent, and I think we'll take a look later also on the projections from Rob T.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, it's not too bad, so I will just go for this, even though probably many people will do it. But I think it's the best time to use the triple captain. And then what I am currently thinking, I will try to avoid the free at 29, just because I want to use it later,
Mm-hmm.
and then I will wildcard probably in 31 or 32 to set me up for bench boost. So this is basically wildcarding to kind of
Mm-hmm.
optimize the bench boost. And the other thing with wildcarding, then I think it because it also still leaves a nice horizon until the season is over. You're not wildcarding too late. So that's what I currently have in mind, and then I will free it in 34. And that's I think that makes sense, because just without looking in too much detail at the games, I think it just probably will be difficult to have a good team for bench boost and then at the same time for the blank
Mm-hmm.
in the following week. So that's why I think the bench boost followed by the free hit might be good. And then assistant manager at the end of the season, which I think is just a nice way to end the season. And as many people are saying, this is often a period where you can have a few surprises or a few games with big scores. Maybe a few teams that are so-called on the beach. So I think that will just make it fun at the end of the season to still have that chip available. So that's currently my plan.
Okay. Sounds good.
And I think, yeah, we had still a few charts that you used a few weeks ago, right,
Mm-hmm.
to look at some of the projections for the doubles and the blanks.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we haven't updated these. I mean, this is from Johnny from a few weeks
Yeah,
ago. But
yeah,
yeah, just to show what we are talking in terms of like game week 29, which fixtures are at risk, and also in terms of like doubles in game week 33 and 36.
yeah,
Yeah, I think it will be quite interesting to see what you are gonna do, so that I can do something else and then
yeah,
get some
yeah.
advantage over
Well,
you.
currently we're still doing the same for this game week, but as you said, it seems like it's the logical thing to do. But after
Mm-hmm.
that, it might still change. And yeah, as you can see in the chart, there's still a lot of question marks, and that's just because the doubles and the blanks, it's based on what will happen in the FA Cup mostly.
Mm-hmm.
So we can't say much about it. So yeah, we'll definitely keep an eye on this, and based on that, of course, our chip strategy will can change. So,
Exactly. Mm-hmm.
but I think yeah, as we mentioned last week, I think it's good to already have a kind of an idea of what your chip strategy could be, because that of course can influence your transfers.
Exactly.
And then maybe just to show the chart from Rob T, which I think
Mm-hmm.
is next. So yeah, this gave me a little bit more confidence because I was really doubting a bit earlier this week, like should I really go for Salah for this double game week? But still more than 4 goals projected over the 2 games. So let's say more than 2 goals per game. And we know when Liverpool scores a goal, Salah is very often involved, so I think that gives us some confidence in going for the triple captain's chip on Salah, and also a quite good clean sheet percentage. So that also helps to go for a Liverpool defender.
Mm-hmm.
But even for Everton, right, the chance of having one clean sheet more than 40%. So still, the people that were saying or that are going for Mikolenko, like I was discussing, I think yeah, could also make sense.
Yeah.
Something you want to add to this, Sertalp?
No, I think it's yeah, pretty good. I mean, obviously, like again, it could have been better. Like when we
Yeah,
didn't use our triple captain at the beginning of the season on Holland, we were hoping
yeah,
for some kind of like a good double game week to use it. Well,
yeah,
partially because of the assistant manager chip where we want to use it in a double game week, and partially because like there might not be a better double than what we
yeah,
have. So yeah, I think this is like good enough to use the triple captain on. So yeah, I agree.
yeah. Well, I see some people saying that I think for game week 33, it will be likely that Liverpool plays Leicester in the
Mm-hmm.
double. So that, of course, makes that double more appealing. But I think
Yeah,
what you need to keep in mind is that you also want to use your bench boost at one point, right? And
yeah,
game week 33 is yeah, a bigger double game week than what we have now in 24. So that's why I think it makes
yeah,
more sense to use your bench boost then, unless of course you go for bench boost in 36, which is another option.
yeah. But yeah, you also need to, well, not need to, but you probably prefer to use your asset managership on a double, and then yeah, then
Yeah,
it
true.
doesn't leave any space, right? So if you have used your triple captain already, then it's a different story, obviously. But
Yeah,
otherwise, you
yeah,
have 3 game weeks where there will be doubles for sure, and then you want to use 3 chips, so you need to make a
yeah,
decision. Yeah.
yeah. All right, perfect. So we covered some chip strategy. Let's now look at the best optimal options for this week and the weeks beyond in terms of players and also optimal team.
So I figured no one is using their wildcard this week. So that's what we typically do, right? We share the optimal wildcard team.
Yeah.
Instead, I thought it might be more useful to run something different. So
Okay.
I call this the optimal weekly teams. So this is essentially almost equivalent of having free hit every week, so that all the transfers are free, so you are not taking any hits. And then I use the team value of 103. I think that's where most people are or around.
Mm.
I will just go over some of these teams, and then maybe people will find it useful. But in Game Week 24, the actual optimal, so this is like an optimal free hit team, is Pickford in the goal. We have Davis, Alexander Arnold, and Virgil in defense.
Mm.
Mbomo, Palmer, Salah, Son in midfield. And we have Beto, Ndiaye, and Isaac in forward. So this team, like in total, is giving 95.08 projected points, which is pretty decent. Like I'm saying this because I will compare this to using triple captain and assistant manager chip in a minute.
Okay.
And in game week 25, the optimal free hit team is Leno in the goal, Cash, Alexander Arnold, Virgil in defense. We have Odegaard, Dango, Palmer, Salah, Son in midfield, Havertz, and Raul in forward. So this team is giving 66.3 projected points. In game week 26, it's Leno again, And in defense, we have Gabriel, Saliba, Dunk. In midfield, we have Odegaard, Dango, Mbomo, Palmer, Son, and Joe Pedro and Isaac in forward. In game week 27, Onana in the goal, Kukureya, Alexander-Arnold, Dalot in defense, Mbomo, Palmer, Salah, Bruno Fernandes, Bowen
Mm.
in midfield. Obviously, it depends on whether Bowen is back by then, but game week 27
Yeah.
is long enough. And then Joe Pedro and Jackson in forward,
Yeah.
as you mentioned.
Yeah.
Uh, and in game week 28, it's Henderson in goal against Ipswich, and then we have Munoz, Alexander-Arnold, Virgil. And in midfield, we have Mbomo, Palmer, Eze, Salah, Son. In forward, we have Joe Pedro and Nico Jackson again.
Yeah.
And finally, in
Yeah.
game week 29, it's Onana, Tarkowski, Dallo, Aina, Kluivert, Dango, Semenyo, Mbomo, Bruno Fernandes, Haaland, and Cunha. So one thing that stands out for me is how different Game Week 29 team is. Like in most of the weeks, you have like
Ah.
either Alexander Arnold, Mbomo, Palmer, like all of those players are there. But then in Game
Yeah.
Week 29, you have a almost completely different team. So from that
Right.
perspective, I think it kind of justifies why I'm thinking of free hitting in 29
Yeah.
because that
Good
team
point.
is quite unrelated to other game weeks. But anything you
Good
want to
point.
comment on here?
No, I mean, I'm just looking at game week 24 because that one is ahead of us, and it's interesting that the model is going for double Liverpool defense with Trent and Virgil, and then Salah. So I think it's quite different to what most people will do with probably one defender, Salah, and then also one attacker with Gakpo.
Mm-hmm.
Plus, I was expecting here to see Mikalenko, but
Yeah.
it only goes for Pickford. And instead, it goes for two Everton attackers, which I think is something that probably nobody will do with Beto and I. Even though Ndai is a quite popular option, I think. Again, especially for that first game against Leicester. So yeah, that's an interesting one. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
Cool.
well, obviously, like if you force, like let's say Gakpo to Steam, like it will probably like reduce the projected points, but it might not be a big difference. So in some
No.
cases, we
Okay.
have
Sure.
lots of close suboptimal teams, and it's not really
Yeah.
clear which one is actually the optimal. But yeah,
Yeah.
right now with the current projections from FPL review, this is what we get.
Yeah.
And so, what if you use your assistant manager this week? And I didn't want to use my own team for this purposes because I wasn't, that well set up for the assistant manager. But suppose you are also using your wildcard somehow magically. You can't use both chips, obviously, but
No.
what will be an ideal team to wildcard now, knowing that you will be activating your assistant manager immediately?
Yeah.
In that case, not surprisingly, it goes for Slot as the assistant manager, but it makes two transfers with the manager, so it keeps changing the manager. So the next game week, it goes for Silva, who's playing against Nottingham Forest, Fulham. They also have the double possibility, right? So you have their
Oh.
values are a little bit amplified, but still a significantly good fixture. I think without the double possibility, it is around 11 projected points. With the double chance, it is around like 12,
Yeah.
some change. And then it goes for Van Nistelrooy in game week 26. So that if you activate your assistant manager chip now, you keep changing your manager, which is like an exciting way to use the chip, I think.
Yeah.
Um, but
And I
yeah,
think it's going for the bonus, right? Because
yeah,
Fulham plays Nottingham, so there is more than 5 places difference in the ranking,
yeah.
and Leicester plays Brentford. So yeah,
Yes. Yeah, exactly. So it goes for
yeah,
the guaranteed, safe double in the first week and then goes for the bonuses, which is, again, pretty
yeah,
exciting, I
which
guess.
is a kind of high risk reward strategy, right? Because I think in another podcast they were looking at the assistant management manager chips from previous game week, and there are
Mm-hmm.
also a few managers with 0 points. We need to keep that in
Yeah, of
mind as
course.
well. Like we're all talking about the huge appeal of this chip, but yeah, you can also just go. You can also get 0 points if you go for like a kind of the risky approach.
I mean, we had people who used their triple captain in a double and got -1 points. So
Of
like there's
course,
always a
that's
chance
also
that
possible.
things will
Yeah,
go
true.
wrong. But yeah.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
Uh, so, but yeah, so the team is
Okay,
very
good.
similar. So it's like Pickford in the goal, Gabriel
Yeah.
Davis, Trent in defense, Mbomo, Palmer, Salah, Bruno Fernandes in midfield, and then we have Joe Pedro, Beto, and Ndiaye in forward. So yeah, similar, and then with the double Everton forwards that you you
Yeah.
didn't enjoy much, but yeah, this is the team, and then it
Yeah,
eventually
and
settles
again,
down.
just
Yeah,
as a
yeah,
reminder for people, if you use your assistant manager chip, uh, the manager takes one of the player spots, right? Like in this case, you
yes,
go for
correct.
slot. So that means you can only have two Liverpool players instead of three. So I think that's what we see here in the team. There is
Yes.
Trent and there is Salah, where previously there was also Virgil.
Mm-hmm.
So that's of course then the decision you need to make. Yeah.
Yeah. So, and then if
Okay.
you have this team, the projected points for Game Week 24 is 102.65. So, like you went from like 95, which was like the free hit optimal, right, to
Yeah.
102. But the
Yeah.
bigger effect in Game Week 25, it goes from like 66 to 82. And then for Game Week 26, it goes from 59 to 68. So,
Okay.
like, as you see, the impact of the assistant manager chip, like, it increases the projected points quite a bit. Even though,
Yeah.
again, like, you are losing the third, like, Liverpool player here,
Yeah. Yeah.
but overall,
Yeah.
like, there's lots of chance here.
Yeah.
Um,
Good point.
and then what if you use your triple captain instead? If you have both of them,
Yeah.
I'm sure like most of the people have already decided which chip they are gonna use, but triple captain chip brings your total expected value this week to 105.83.
Okay.
And again, I'm using like a wild card and triple captain together.
Yeah.
So the team is very similar, but we also have Havertz among forwards here. Um, and then also Virgil in defense, as you mentioned, because we are dropping slot now that we have the third Liverpool
Yeah.
spot open. Um,
Yeah.
so as you see, for Gaming 24 only, it gives a better total than using Assistant Manager. But obviously, you are losing the extra bonus in Game Week 25 and 26. And if you compare in terms of the objective score from the solver, like the Assistant Manager is giving 325, and then compare this to 320 when you use your triple captain. So you losing like 5 objective score points, going from assistant manager to triple captain. But as I said before, we have we will have better, hopefully we will have better chances to use assistant manager chip down the line. So
Right.
that's why you need to increase the value of the chip. Then solver will realize, oh yes, yeah, this is a better game week to use the triple captain. So that's why it is a little bit tricky when it comes to automating chips with a solver. Like
Yeah.
there's lots of uncertainty for the rest of the horizon. All of these scenarios, like the chance of those scenarios happening is really low. Like all of these individual scenarios about doubles and blanks. But if you look at it, you know that there will be doubles that are hopefully will be favorable for me to use assistant manager in future. So if you have both of them, use triple captain this week is what at least what we are thinking or suggesting.
Yeah.
And if you don't have triple captain, then it might be a good time to use assistant manager if you're interested. But then again,
Mhm.
yeah, we might have better chances down the line.
Yeah. All
Yeah,
right.
I think these are all the solves I have for today.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks. It helps to for me to feel good about my decision. I think, and I will stick to triple captain. I just need don't forget to activate it actually, because I've been thinking and talking about it,
Oh
but I
yeah,
didn't activate it yet. So
yeah,
let's not
same.
forget it.
Will be
Yeah.
something.
All right. The last thing to look at is the captaincy chart, even though maybe this week it's not really needed. I think, yes, there's probably an obvious candidate.
It will be funny if I say like, "Oh, use triple captain on Salah," but if you're not gonna use it, then use it on someone else for the captaincy. But yeah, obviously Salah, his projected points is around 13.86 when you take the average of all the models.
Hmm.
Um, and well, he's the top option in every model, needless to
Yeah.
say. But then in
Yeah.
for the second option, We have Alexander Arnold actually in the second
Turnaround.
position, and
Yeah.
then Ellison in the third position, which is I was actually surprised to see this because
Hmm.
because of you I was thinking maybe Gakpo will be here,
Yeah.
but their
Very
projected points
closely.
is almost the same.
Yeah, almost the
Ellison is
same.
7.97, Gakpo is 7.96. So
Yeah.
and then Palmer is just between them magically with 7.97 again. So those three are almost equivalent in terms of projected points. But obviously, in some models, Gakpo is higher. Like in Hub's model, Gakpo is the second highest. Um, but yeah, and then we have Diaz and Virgil as the sixth and seventh options. But yeah, it will be
Yeah.
like everyone will captain Salah, like whoever owns him, and
Yeah.
lots of people will triple captain him. So I'm so also I should also maybe mention this. Sometimes people are like, oh, if I'm not going to, so people will be triple captaining Salah. Suppose you also have Salah and you are kind of feeling upset about the whole thing, that even if he scores goals, it will be your disadvantage, right? So then people sometimes captain someone else because of this
Mm.
logic. He's gonna lose me points anyway. If I'm gonna bet on his blanking, why don't I captain, let's say, Palmer or someone else? Um, you are also trying to minimize the loss, right? So especially if you
Yes.
are in a good position, even if you are not triple captaining, you probably want to still captain him so that when he
Yeah.
scores a goal, it's just a goal difference, not two goals to you. Um, so I think there are places to take some risks, but probably this week is not one of them. Well, I will say this, and then Salah will blank in both games, but I
Yeah, I
think
mean that can happen.
logically
Yeah,
it makes
that can
sense to
happen.
just go.
But I agree, and let's not forget there are some people who already used the chip, um, or some people who will save the chip for another time. So I think if you put the triple captain chip on Salah and he scores a goal, you can still be happy. Uh, of course, the effect is ownership will be really high, but yeah, let's enjoy it anyway.
Yeah,
I'm missing Konate on this chart. I guess he'll be number 8 because I'm planning myself to go for him just
think so.
as
Yeah.
the cheapest option in the defense. As I still need to budget elsewhere. That's probably because I have quite an expensive attack with also Watkins there. So yeah, I can use the budget, and that's of course a risk. I still don't have Trent, and of course he had an assist again previous game week. I was quite happy that Liverpool conceded because that was good for my my rank. But yeah, now I will bring in Konate so to also have some of the defensive coverage from Liverpool.
Okay.
All right, excellent. We covered a lot, and I think we can probably switch to the mini league to wrap it up.
Sure.
All right, before I do that, yeah, I hope everyone enjoyed the content that we shared. I hope you found it valuable. And for the mini league, the top two didn't change. So we still have Abhinav and Lyle. So congrats to them for keeping their top positions. A very consistent performance this season. But we do have a new number three. It's Russell Glenn. And I'm pretty sure it's the first time he makes the top three. His team, the Wet Bandits, collected 81 points, and he's only 11 points behind our number two, Lyle Mosley, now. So, yeah, well done, Russell, and welcome to the top three in our mini league. That was it for today. Good luck,
Mm-hmm.
everyone, with deciding on your chip strategy, at least for double game week 24. Next week there will be an FA Cup weekend, so I think Sertalp and I we need to see whether we will record next week or not. We'll keep you informed. So yeah, make sure that you subscribe to our podcast so you'll get notified when the next episode is out, and you can also follow us on X for Sertalp. It's at Sertalp Bilal. He's also on Blue Sky, by the way, and for me it's at Belfi BB. And we have the separate account for the podcast, which is at FPL Optimized.
And until next time, stay curious and stay analytical. Goodbye.